Ladies and gentlemen, the first year of the 12-team college football playoff certainly gives us a unique champion. It is the Ohio State Buckeyes, the team that lost 2 games, most certainly would not have made a 4-team playoff. Neither would Notre Dame with their loss to Northern Illinois, but both of these teams end up making the national title with Ohio State winning the final score 34-23. I am going to do a recap of this game and then just kind of talk about college football as a whole at the end. And also, I'll be honest, let's take a look at this for a second now. You know, hold on, where is this? Here it is. And let's look at this. This is 100%, folks. This is every single game right. This is every game. And so after I got every game right, you can see I said how many points will they'll be scored in the playoff. I said 530. It was 573. So that was kind of close as well. So this is every single game. Yes, other people I think got it as well. It's not extremely hard to get, but I mean, this is a 7-8 seed that you predict correctly. And it's just Ohio State. We knew they could be the best team in college football as long as they caught some momentum, and that's exactly what happened. Now, in terms of this game, honestly, it's pretty crazy. The score at half was 21-7 because Notre Dame's first drive went about as well as you could expect if you are Notre Dame. They wanted to shorten the game, limited possessions, run the ball, third down conversions, fourth down conversions. The only problem was it was totally unsustainable. Riley Leonard had 9 carries on the first drive, 18 plays, 75 yards, 9 minutes, 45 seconds. Ohio State scores 3 touchdowns all in the second quarter, all very long drives, 75 yards, 76 yards, 80 yards. The only reason they only scored 21 points was because they only got 3 possessions in the first half because of that long Notre Dame touchdown drive. So it is remarkable that Ohio State was up 21-7 at half, considering the first time they got the ball was like 5 minutes left in the first quarter. They were down 7-0. So considering how good Notre Dame started off, to me, this was always going to be a very challenging game for Notre Dame in terms of their lack of passing attack. And honestly, I was surprised by the amount of success that they had in the second half. I thought this was a game that Ohio State very easily could have ended up really pulling away. Now, they did cover barely with that late field goal. The pass to Jeremiah Smith, they really, they could have very easily not covered and won this game 31-23. Notre Dame was in a situation to where they kept needing 2-point conversions, and they converted both of the 2-point conversions that they tried. The field goal made no sense to me. Marcus Freeman going for like a 20-yard field goal when he was down by 16 points. So you're gonna cut it to 13. That was very odd that he would do that. I think at the time he was down 16. Then they miss a very short field goal, and it's like, I mean, what would have been fourth and goal at the 9-yard line? Throw up a pass. There might be pass interference. You never know. Ohio State, they had a few penalties, but just in general, it wasn't the most amazing game from the Buckeyes. Certainly the first half. I mean, they scored 4 straight touchdowns on their first 4 drives. Will Howard was like 14-14. They really bogged down in the second half. You give Notre Dame credit. Greathouse, the receiver, had some really impressive plays. But Ohio State was always just going to be more talented than Notre Dame. I had this game at 31-10. I did underestimate Notre Dame's offense. It did look like, Notre Dame had like 80 yards of total offense in the first half. The second half was a lot better, but if you look at the total team stats here, Ohio State finishes with 445, which is impressive against a Notre Dame defense. Notre Dame finishes with 308. The rate stats, Ohio State averaging 11 yards per pass, Notre Dame at 8, which honestly surprises me. I thought Notre Dame would be a lot worse than 8 yards per pass. No interceptions by either team. This is the big one. Ohio State, 214 rushing yards. Notre Dame just 53, averaging 5.2 yards per carry. Quinshon Judkins, the carry to start the second half, that really brought Ohio State up in terms of their average. That was like a 70-yard run. Notre Dame with just 2. Ohio State, 6 penalties, 58 yards. A lot of defensive holdings, a lot of pass interferences late in the game. The Buckeyes did have a turnover that I really think was the only reason Notre Dame was still in it. It was like some type of, a screen pass to Emeka Ibuka, and he had a really nice run after catch to where he took us about the 20-yard line. If Ohio State kicks a field goal there, it would have made it a 3-score game, and that would have been first and 10 at the 20, but Ibuka fumbles as he's going down. Notre Dame recovers, and it ends up being, I think Notre Dame goes on a scoring drive after that themselves. So that was the only turnover in the game. You look, Will Howard, I mean, only 21 pass attempts. This is one of those weird games where you're up early and then you kind of just turtle up because you're trying to win a national title. You're not going to force anything. You're not going for style points. So only 21 pass attempts for Will Howard. Ohio State had 41 rush attempts, so they ran the ball a ton compared to that, but really efficient, crazy high QBR. It is pretty remarkable. You look at Will Howard, number one QBR in all of college football. That's what he finished with. I think I'm blocking it out, unfortunately, because of my camera, but he finished with the number one overall QBR. Judkins had that crazy 70-yard run, finishes with 2 touchdowns. Really good red zone back, Judkins is. Trevion Henderson, he really didn't get a ton of touches in this game. Well, I mean, I guess they spread it around. Yeah, they used Will Howard a lot running the football. Jeremiah Smith had that really long catch. And then looking at Notre Dame, I thought Riley Leonard better than I expected throwing. 21 of 30 or 22 of 31, 255, 8 yards per pass, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, pretty good QBR. They really couldn't run the ball. I think Jeremiah Love was injured. He had four carries for 3 yards. Leonard had success running the ball in the first quarter. 3rd and short, 4th and short. You do a QB run, you're probably going to get it. Greathouse had 6 for 128 and 2 touchdowns. That's really impressive. But yeah, Ohio State's just more talented than Notre Dame, and that's what this came down to. And they really imposed their will in there in the second quarter. I mean, if you're Notre Dame, you rely on your defense. You look at Ohio State's first drives, touchdown, 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 touchdown. This drive, I think, was derailed by a penalty. Yeah, OSU holding penalty. That's when Notre Dame, I think, went for some type of, what was it, the fake punt pass that they probably should have gotten. They dropped it, though. But, yeah, so Ohio State ends up winning the national title. This was much needed for Ohio State because you had Ohio State wins it in 2014. You have Alabama and Clemson kind of have the dual dynasties. I don't know if you'd call Clemson a dynasty, but still, they were very successful for that period in between like 2015 and 2020. They were more successful than Ohio State. Bama has their dynasty. Then Georgia comes up and overtakes Ohio State. Ohio State loses that very close game to Georgia in Atlanta back on New Year's Eve. Everyone remembers that. That was with the C.J. Stroud team, Stetson Bennett. And so they needed this. And especially, Ryan Day needed this after the Michigan loss and how ugly that was. And so, Ohio State, obviously, we knew they were the most talented team in college football. It doesn't always play out like that. Like we saw Michigan beat Ohio State. There's upsets that always happen. And listen, it was not easy. You face a Tennessee top 10 team. You face an Oregon, the number 1 team. And you face Texas. They were at one point the number 1 team. Notre Dame was a top 2, top 3 team most of the year. And so it's an impressive run by Ohio State. I know people are saying, well, they had 2 losses, but this is just the new way college football is. You can suffer losses, but we knew they had the highest ceiling, and they finally showed it towards the end of the season, and then they just ran through all of these games. 42-17, 41-21, 28-14. These are all multi-score games. They're not necessarily close. And so Ohio State ends up winning the national title. And people are asking me, will they repeat? It's impossible to say, although it is very hard to repeat in college football, especially with a format like this, where you've got to win a bunch of these games. I don't know if the format's going to change at all. But yeah, it is. It's very hard to repeat in any sport. I will say that. And Georgia this year was kind of weird. They were injured. You had Penn State get that really easy draw. You could argue maybe Penn State would give Ohio State a better game, but I thought Notre Dame late in that game did try and make a comeback. It wasn't like a blowout the entirety of it. But either way, Ohio State gets the job done. They end up winning the title. And analytically, obviously, they do finish as the number 1 team in college football. So yes, there is that. And listen, I would imagine for the future, people are talking about maybe Ryan Day leaving or what's going to be happening because of his record against Michigan. Maybe he doesn't want to deal with some of the fan base. I'm guessing Ryan Day 100% will stay. You win a national title, it's going to buy you a few years, regardless of what happens versus Michigan. I know people don't want to hear that, but that's just the way it is. Winning a national title is the most important. It's going to buy Day a few years. He got it done. and Ohio State. First one since 2014. They've been close several times, but this was much needed for their program. So they get it done. Either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.